My rant today is how to know the difference between anxiety and depression. You know what I mean. You meet somebody online who didn't show you a picture, and you meet them at a restaurant or a bar, and you sit there and you have this anxiety. Oh, I wonder what he looks like. I wonder what he looks like, hoping that he looks like somebody that you would want to be with. And then when the person shows up, you go, oh shit. You get depressed because he ain't nowhere near what you thought he would look like. Today I have a guest named River Braun, and he's going to talk about exercise that we can do to get out of that anxiety and depression roller coaster. My name is Eric, and welcome to the craziness that lives inside my head.
My name is River Braun. I am a mind body coach, and I work with primarily the queer community in helping them to heal past traumas, overcome anxiety, depression, just things that are getting stuck, getting in our way of the things that we want to accomplish. And currently writing a book entitled The High Key Anxious to Low Key Calm, and finding your chill using the Boda Blueprint. And basically, what I do is I just help people reconnect with their bodies, because I feel like in our current culture, so many of us have dissociated from our bodies just as a coping mechanism from all of the things in our world that are causing us stress, anxiety, depression, and so forth. So
Okay. And you said you was working on a book, right?
I am, yes, high key anxious to low key calm, and it's talking about anxiety and what the root causes of our anxiety are, and how we can use our own bodies and our own wisdom to help us lower the instances of anxiety, help us understand when we're feeling anxious, and being able to actually control that anxiety using our body instead of letting the anxiety control our actions in our lives. So using things like mindfulness, movement, meditation, and manifestation, those are kind of that's my framework for working through these issues, along with coaching. So helping people understand, what are you trying to accomplish? What is getting in your way, and what are the stories that your body is telling you that is getting into your head? So, for example, you might be starting to feel some anxiety, and for most of us, we're going to try to avoid that. So maybe we're going to go scroll through our phone. Maybe we're going to go shopping. We're going to go Netflix and chill. But instead, sitting with that and saying, okay, I'm feeling this. I'm feeling my heart racing. I'm feeling my palms are sweaty. My brain's going, oh my God, you're going to make a fool out of yourself. You better stop talking, stop this, get out of here. And so for my perspective, being able to sit with that and say, okay, I am feeling this. And the thing that we can immediately do is just say, okay, hey, I'm actually safe in this moment. There's no tiger chasing me. I'm okay. Being in the present, seeing things that are real, and then saying, okay, where is this coming from? I'm feeling this tightness in my chest. I'm feeling this constriction in my throat. What are the circumstances that we're looking at in the future that's causing this anxiety? And being able to say, okay, hey, I'm getting this memory. I'm getting this memory of, in my generation, and probably yours too. Children are seen and not heard.
Mm.
Don't speak your mind. Don't hold these boundaries. Um, and so realizing it, oh, this is where this is coming from, and then using things like using movement and manifestation to then re kind of get us out of that rut that's been there our entire lives, and kind of reprogramming or building a new road. So creating a new story of, yeah, my feelings are valid, my thoughts are valid, my opinions valid. I can talk and be able to, speak my piece without fear of repercussions. Um, and just practicing that, embodying this news story, and being able to use that as your kind of get that into your body as a default. So the next time this anxiety pops up, just realizing, oh, I'm feeling this. I can stop this. I can explore this instead of just going into our normal pattern of dissociation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I could talk about a topic under anxiety. I should feel bad about myself, but I used to work with this guy years ago, back in the 80s, and he had anxiety. He really had anxiety problems, you know. We worked on the trading floor, so I couldn't understand why would he pick a job like the trading floor. And it was very interesting. I never really took he was the first one who really got me realizing that anxiety can be detrimental or, you know, um, because he had anxiety attack on the subway and they called 911. He had to be taken to the hospital. He took a couple of weeks off and he came back on the trading floor. Sad part about it, a lot of people make fun of him because they thought, you know, that being that have that kind of anxiety that you can't, it really affects his life. And
Yeah,
and one of the topics that I would like to talk about is I thought that maybe he was depressed. Now, I've been in a situation where I found that I know when I'm depressed, and then when I get this feeling like it happened in 2020, that's when it came to me. 2020, I had a lot of anxiety. Now I kept saying, no, maybe I'm depressed. But I realized it was anxiety. My heart was beating fast. I wake up in the morning, my heart is beating fast. Like my mind is like, and I realized I'm anxiety. I'm feeling anxiety about something I couldn't understand. I said, oh, I must be depressed. So because a lot was going on with me in 2020. So it must be my depression or something. But I think I want your opinion. Is there a line between anxiety and depression?
absolutely, absolutely. And it's really kind of fascinating between because you can actually have both at the same time, which is super fun, as I'm sure you've experienced. Um, but I'm not going to get super nerdy on you, but my background is in the polyvagal theory. I don't know if you've
No, I
heard
don't.
that terminology at
No.
all, but it was developed by a Dr. Stephen Porges, and it basically says that there are these three states in our autonomic nervous system. So we're talking about kind of our primitive brain, that prehistoric brain that is the first to develop. And there are three different states, and we've got the what they call the ventral state, the ventral vagal state. And when I say vagal, we're talking about the vagus nerve, which is this gigantic nerve that is multi-branched and it goes throughout our body and is really that's the mind-body connection. So there's actually more nerve cells that are going from the body to the brain than from the brain to the body. And so there's a ventral part, which is the front of your body, and that's where we're feeling safe and connected, and just this is where we can go play and we can be gregarious with our friends, and that's the state we kind of all want to be in, right? Then there's the dorsal vagal state. So the back of the body is the dorsal, and that's where you get stuck when you're in depression.
Hmm.
That's where your body is going, oh my God, there's too much going on. My partner broke up with me. I just lost my job. I'm about to lose my house. Your body just shuts down.
Yeah.
And that's when you're in that dorsal vagal state, and that's where depression comes in. Now, the third one is the fight or flight, and that's our anxiety alarm. That's that part where if we're getting stuck all the time thinking, okay, what's going to happen in the future that I need to be aware of. And that happens for a lot of reasons. Could be our childhood where maybe we had a parent that was a little unstable, or we had an environment that was a little unstable, and so we're constantly vigilant. That's how we protect ourselves. And so that will carry on with us for the rest of our lives until we become aware of it and are able to say, okay, we're going to stop and say, okay, I'm safe right now. And what's going on in my body? What's my body trying to tell me? And so I guess we could say the differences between depression and anxiety. So depression, we're feeling low, we're kind of frozen, we don't want to get out of bed, there's no enjoyment in our lives, sleep a lot. And then with anxiety, we're in a hyper aroused state. So we got hypo aroused with depression, hyper aroused with anxiety. It's where our heart's racing, we can't stop our thoughts, our hands are sweaty. For me, it's the fight or flight. So for me, I'm a fleer. I like to run. Things get tough. I know that I gotta run, and I can see that now in my behaviors and be able to say, oh, what's going on? Why are you feeling like running? For other people, it's fight, and so that can happen. That can affect a lot of relationships where somebody's feeling the anxiety, maybe they're not aware of it, and they just start lashing out,
Mm.
and then whoever your friend, your partner, it's like, hey, why are you attacking me? I didn't do anything. And that kind of anxiety that's unchecked and unresolved, unrealized, can affect a lot of relationships. I hope I answered your question. I don't want to keep going too long.
Mm.
But
Go ahead.
yeah, did that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it makes kind of sense. Um, so what what do a person do when they're in this anxiety states and probably depressed at the same time? I mean, what what do you suggest?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Number one is just to realize that, hey, this is no, this is natural. It might not be normal for you, uh, but it's a natural thing to happen. And so a lot of times when we feel depressed or anxious, we feel shame, like your friend. That people made fun of him because his body's doing this perfectly natural thing, and his body's saying, "Hey, something's wrong. I want you to stop and address it." Um, so we then can internalize that personally, because as a society, as I'm sure you're aware, you know, it's a disorder. You need to go to the doctor. You need to take this pill. There's something wrong with you.
Yeah, yeah,
So I think the first thing is just realizing this is normal. This is this your body's actually having a very normal reaction to the state of your environment. And so being very gentle with yourself is kind of my thing. That you probably heard, talk to yourself as you would talk to somebody that you dearly love. And I know that's hard for us to do a lot of times. So giving yourself the space, giving yourself the love and the compassion, and then as you can, start to move. Start to move your body, even if you don't want to, even if it's just for 1 minute. Like giving yourselves these little micro goals of, hey, I know you don't want to brush your teeth. I know you don't want to get up and take a shower and do all this stuff. Well, maybe there's one thing that you can do. Setting these little goals for yourself. Um, I was, I think I was seeing a nutritionist about a year ago, and they said something that was really interesting to me, that motion and energy creates more motion and energy. It's physics concept, but it works the same in humans. So even though you don't feel like moving, if you just stay there, you're always going to stay there. But if you start moving and starting a process, that's going to continue. So let's start with depression, really. So we were talking about that. Um, Start journaling. Start exploring, what is it that's getting you feeling anxious or depressed. And maybe it's something that you readily recognize, like there are environmental factors, there's a relationship factor, something that you can say, yeah, this is what's getting me depressed. Other times you may not know, and in that case, what I kind of recommend is, if you can, do some mindfulness and meditation practices. And by mindfulness, I just mean sit there. You can close your eyes, you can just have a soft gaze, whatever that may be, and just identify, maybe take some breaths, and identify, what they have, the 5 4 3 2 1 uh, uh, technique, that you can, identify 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can touch, uh, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things that you can smell, and 1 thing that you can taste. And what that does is, and it works for anxiety too, but what that does is it gets you in the present. It gets you in your body instead of up in your head, where you can either be spinning or having a loop of you're not good enough and now you're not doing anything. And whatever that self-talk is, that negative self-talk is, can help you break out of that, get into your body. And then you might say, okay, here I am. Um, Maybe you're feeling there, maybe you're not. Uh, you can do things like grounding, where you're put your feet on the ground, feel your feet on the ground, go through and do that body scan where you can tense up your muscles and relax your muscles. So you're feeling each thing. And then you can just notice, feeling a little nauseous, feeling a little pit in my stomach. Sitting with that, maybe some thoughts will start coming into your head. Um, I know for me in particular, I was having a jaw issue last year. My jaw actually locked shut. So I went to the dentist and my jaw completely locked up, and I couldn't eat. I couldn't go to the dentist because they couldn't get in there and do anything, and they're getting mad and they're telling me, hey, we're gonna have to do this thing, and it's not gonna be pleasant, but we're gonna just kind of rip your jaw open. And I was like, that just sounds terrible, and and not something I want to go through, and it just doesn't sound good with my body. And so I was talking to a friend of mine who is a somatic body worker, and I'm like, "Is there anything that you can do?" And she says, "Yeah, let's get in there." And she was doing some massage of my jaw muscles and her thumbs in my mouth and doing all this stuff. And I start having these images of this hurricane that I lived through a couple years ago. And I was like, "Well, this is so weird. What is this story that's coming up from just this muscle in my body?" And I was just fascinated by it, and I was questioning, why am I locking up because of this? That you know, I was relatively safe. Other people lost their homes. Like this is not a terrible thing, for me. For other people, it was. And we explored a little bit more. Like, what happened? Well, I lost. I didn't lose, but I had what was my home at the time, which was a boat, that got seriously damaged. And I'm like, okay, I lost a boat. Yes, it was my home, but I have other options. This was not that bad. So I kept discounting this thing, this experience, and we got even further to like, okay, well, what is that? What did the boat mean to you? And I was like, freedom. That flight for me. I need to have a way out. So this was freedom for me. And I had that kind of taken away or threatened. And it was all just from this paying attention to my body. What was the body telling me? So that's why, the somatic, the working with your body can be so powerful, because it's getting to the root of what the problem is, instead of saying, okay, you're depressed, here, take a pill, or hey, let's talk about it, without getting that body component. It's just not as effective.
Mm.
So being able to get in there and say, okay, what's the root cause? What's that story? And then being able to say, okay, well, now you're safe. And do you need to run? And being able to make that change. Um, so definitely seeing, if you can, either a therapist that works with the mind body connection or working with a mind body coach. Those things can be super powerful in helping to relieve the anxiety and help you work through it. Because in my opinion, just talking through things, we're using that cognitive center. We're trying to use logic to get us out of a place that logic didn't take us into,
Yeah.
and that doesn't work, right? Um, and then trying to use pharmaceuticals to solve a problem that's actually more of a spiritual problem.
Yeah.
We're disconnecting from our body, and so being able to reconnect to our bodies is super crucial. And then the same thing with anxiety. Taking those pauses, saying, okay, why do I have this urge to scroll? We're trying to get this dopamine hit to calm ourselves.
Yeah.
And so using kind of the same techniques of being present, because anxiety is all about the future. What are we worried about in the future? Are we going to get eaten by a tiger? Are we going to lose our house? Are we going to have this relationship that falls apart? Um, we're constantly looking for that, and that's our survival mechanism. It's our body saying, hey, we're on high alert. So being able to go in and saying, okay, what is this alert about? Who pulled the fire alarm? Is it my inner child that's saying, hey, pay attention to me?
Right.
um, or is it your kind of inner firefighter saying, there's a threat over here, this person's getting in my face, they're road raging or something. We're gonna get super aggro and we're gonna fight back. And then there's a lot of different parts inside of us that are just trying to protect that little kid that is saying, hey, this is too much, I'm feeling attacked. So being able to just say to your body, putting your hand on your heart can be super powerful. And just saying, I'm safe right now, because your body doesn't know that. Your body thinks it's being chased by a tiger.
Yeah.
And so just being able to say you are safe, if you can say it out loud and not sound crazy to somebody around you, great. If you can't, it's just saying it in your head, I am safe right now, is super powerful, and just stopping that in the moment.
Yeah.
And then when you have a chance to go explore, I highly recommend getting into that body.
So, question. So you going through, let's say if a person's going through this anxiety and they're in a crowd or they're with whatever and they're out in public in
Mhm.
society, how do they cope with it? I mean, they could just run away and just go someplace and like you said, and do those techniques. But if they're in a situation where they can't run or they can't, call somebody, they
Mhm.
have to, perform whatever it is they got to perform.
Right, right. Like say you're in a board meeting or something,
Right.
or you're at your job and you're helping customers. Yeah, it's kind of weird when you start doing alternate nose breathing. you know, I totally get that. And actually, what I found, something that was really interesting. Um, so I guess let's back up. The first step is just realizing what's happening.
Right.
Okay, I'm feeling anxious. Something's going on. So you can look around and go, okay, I can see that I have an orange cup at my desk. I have, a candle. I have, whatever, this pen here, and I can see those ceiling. And what that's doing is actually signaling your body that you are safe, or relatively safe. You're in this environment that's not trying to kill you. And then tuning into, what you're tasting, what you're smelling, what you're seeing, what you're hearing. It's always going to bring you back into the present instead of into the future. You can do that without looking crazy, right? The other thing that I like to do is alternate nostril breathing without using your hands. And it's actually possible. And even if you're not doing it perfectly, which is not the point is just to be concentrating on your breathing. And so if I'm trying to breathe in through one nostril and breathe out through the other, I am being brought back into the present and being brought back into my body. And what that's doing is when you're breathing normally instead of the, you're signaling to your body that you're not safe. So if you're going, and just doing some nice breathing, you're oxygenating your blood, and you're triggering that vagus nerve to say, "Hey, you're okay, you're safe." So that's that two things that you can do in the moment to signal to your body that you're safe, and not look like you're running away or you're doing some crazy yoga moves or something in the middle of work. Um, Yeah, so breathing, just bringing yourself back into your body. You can do a body scan without much attention being brought to yourself. You can also excuse yourself. Say, "Hey, I'm
Yeah.
gonna go to the bathroom."
Yeah.
You know, yeah. There's some great yoga moves if you're not even true yoga, but just like bringing your hands up over your head. And you can do this at your desk, and then bringing down head between your legs. Something maybe you're going to do in a bathroom stall or something. But just doing that, that's also a way to signal and reset your vagus nerve and get your body into more of a regulated state.
So do you have a website that people can go to get
Yeah,
the coaching and,
yeah, definitely riverbraun.com.
okay. I'll put that at the bottom of the video. your website.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you.
So, well, it was nice talking to you.
It was great talking with you too.
And you just heard the craziness that lives inside my head.